Have you ever watched a man celebrate too early, live on camera in front of everyone, and then watch the thing he was celebrating turn around and face him? You're about to. The moment that stopped the broadcast happened at 11:51 p.m. Not the monologue, not the opening joke, not the cameos. The moment is a pause. 4 seconds of Colbert holding a single printed page, looking at it, looking at the camera, and saying nothing. A floor director later described it as the only 4 seconds in 11 years of working this show where he was genuinely uncertain what the man at the desk was going to do next. What Colbert does is fold the page once, set it down, and say, "Let's take an inventory." But to understand what was in that inventory, we have to go back to the morning it all started. July 18th, 7:43 a.m. Eastern. Trump posts on Truth Social. The words appear within hours of CBS announcing the cancellation of the most-watched late-night program in America. I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. A second post follows, then a third. Jimmy Kimmel is next, the president writes. Greg Gutfeld is better than all of them combined. The posts arrive in rapid sequence, each one looser and more gleeful than the last. The capital letters climbing, the punctuation multiplying. The digital fingerprint of a man who has been waiting a very long time to write exactly these sentences. By 9:00 a.m., the posts are being screenshotted and circulated. By noon, they are appearing on the chyrons of networks that are also simultaneously reporting the cancellation as a financial decision driven by the challenging late-night television landscape. Two facts, side by side. The president celebrating a cancellation, the industry calling it economics. The distance between those two facts is exactly the space Colbert walks into on Monday night. The episode opens in the middle of something already in motion. Colbert is standing, not sitting. The desk is behind him. He holds a remote in one hand and faces the screen, which shows Trump's Truth Social post, time-stamped, unedited, in full. He doesn't introduce it. He doesn't frame it. He reads it aloud exactly once, in the flat, even voice of a man reading a document into a public record. Then he clicks the remote. The post disappears. A new image takes its place. A date, July 14th. That is the date I called the $16 million settlement between the sitting president and the company that owns this building a big, fat bribe. Click. Another date, July 17th. That is the date CBS announced this show is ending. Click. The two dates appear side by side, nothing else on the screen, no arrows, no labels, no editorial overlay. 72 hours, Colbert says. He lets the number exist in the room without further comment. Then he walks to his desk, sits, and opens the folder. The folder is the thing nobody expected, not the audience, not the production team, 3 of whom are watching from the wings with the particular stillness of people who were not briefed on this portion of the show. What emerges from the folder is not a prop. It is a printed timeline. 43 items, date-ordered, spanning 14 months. The settlement negotiation begins in October 2024. The FCC leadership transition occurs in January 2025. The first informal communication between Paramount's regulatory team and the new FCC office is logged in February. The equal time reinterpretation memo, the one that would later be used to pull the Tallarico interview, is drafted, according to communications law records, in April. Published in January 2026. The Tallarico interview pulled in February. The cancellation, July. 43 items, 14 months. A single unbroken line. That's not coincidence, Colbert says, running one finger along the printed column. That is an inventory. 43 line items of who moved what, when, and in what order, and every single one of them points in the same direction. A camera on the crane catches the audience in wide shot. Nobody is checking a phone. Nobody is adjusting in their seat. A man in the 6th row has both hands pressed flat against his knees. A woman near the aisle has stopped breathing, in the way people stop breathing when they are listening so hard, the body suspends its own functions to make room. Then a door near the stage right curtain opens. The first witness is a former Paramount compliance officer. She handled internal documentation during the merger review process. She is not here because she wants to be. She said that plainly to the production team when they reached her. I want to be very clear that I would prefer not to be here. She is here because, she says, she watched CBS's statement after the Tallarico incident describe an editorial decision made independently of any external pressure, and she attended the meeting where the external pressure was applied, and those two things cannot coexist in the public record without one of them being corrected. Her voice does not shake. It is the voice of someone who has been preparing for this moment with the thoroughness of a person who knows that if they do this, they have to do it exactly right. In the meeting I attended in April of last year, she says, the phrase used was content posture. The guidance from the regulatory side was that Paramount's content posture in the months leading up to final merger approval should reflect an awareness of the administration's concerns about late-night political programming. She pauses. I asked for clarification on what awareness meant in that context. I was told it meant adjustment. Content posture. Adjustment. The words move through the room without anyone commenting on them because commentary would reduce them. They need to be heard at full size. Trump's post reappears on the screen. I absolutely love that Colbert got fired and remains there while the witness is still standing at the microphone. The juxtaposition is a document in itself. A man at a desk in the White House typing those words at 7:43 in the morning, and a woman in a television studio explaining what the adjustment process that produced that outcome looked like from the inside. A production assistant who has worked the show for 7 years stands in the wings with her clipboard held against her chest like a shield. She is not reading it, she is holding it. The second witness enters. He worked in senior talent relations at CBS for 9 years. He left 6 months ago. He did not leave willingly, a fact he states without elaboration and does not return to because it is not the point. The point, he says, is that talent relations at a major broadcast network in this specific period of history means something that the job title does not prepare you for. It means fielding calls from the network's parent company about a host's temperature. It means relaying guidance that is always framed as concern for the host's well-being, for the show's sustainability, for the network's long-term positioning, and never, not once, as what it actually is. I was asked, he says, and his voice breaks on the second word, reforms, continues to communicate to Stephen, through channels, not directly, that his commentary on the settlement was creating friction that could affect outcomes that mattered to a lot of people who worked on his show. His hands, folded in his lap, tighten until the knuckles lose their color. I didn't do it. I said I was sick that day, and then I started looking for another job. The room breaks, not all at once, in sections. A woman in the front row drops her chin to her chest. A man behind her puts his hand over his eyes. Not to cry, or not only to cry, but to have somewhere private for his face to go for a moment. One person stands. Center section, maybe 40 years old, hands coming together slowly. Then the person to his left, then the row behind. The applause that builds is not celebration. It is the sound a room makes when something that was supposed to stay hidden is instead standing in the light under studio lighting in front of a live camera. And the only available response is to bring your hands together, because silence would mean accepting that this is normal. Colbert watches it. He does not stand. He does not smile. He places both hands flat on the desk and waits for the room to finish. When it does, he looks directly into the lens of camera 2, not the teleprompter camera, not the wide shot, the close lens, and speaks. He posted at 7:43 in the morning. I know that because I was awake. I read it before my coffee, and I want to say something to him directly because he went to the trouble of posting about me personally, which means he's watching. He doesn't raise his voice. You got the show canceled. The documents are on this desk. The timeline is on that screen. The witnesses just spoke. Let's take an inventory of what you brought to this room tonight versus what's already here. You brought a Truth Social post. I brought 43 line items and 2 people who were inside the machine. He touches the folder. Your move. The room does not erupt. It exhales. Outside the Ed Sullivan Theater, the crowd that gathered earlier in the week, the handmade signs, the educators and the retirees who drove in from New Jersey and Connecticut, has returned, larger this time. The signs are the same, but there are more of them, held by people who are not protesting in the organized, scheduled sense, but simply standing in a place where it feels necessary to stand. By midnight, the clip is already moving. Not the full episode, but the single exchange. You brought a Truth Social post. I brought 43 line items. Separated from context, it travels faster. Within 6 hours, it has been segmented into 11 independent clips, each finding a different corner of the internet. By morning, it has cleared 8 million views across platforms. At 2:17 a.m., a network's overnight desk receives a document, no sender name. Hospital letterhead from a private medical facility in Zurich, partially redacted. The letterhead matches public registration records for the clinic. The document references a patient examined under a private alias. The dates of examination correspond to a gap in Trump's public schedule in early 2024, a gap his office described at the time as a working vacation. The network's legal team spends 3 hours attempting to identify a forgery. They cannot. A senior editor makes the decision to report the existence of the document without publishing its contents. The segment airs at 6:00 a.m. By 6:15, 3 other networks are covering the coverage. Trump posts again at 6:47 a.m. The post is longer than yesterday's. The exclamation marks have multiplied. The word fake appears 4 times. Each instance of the post is immediately screenshotted and placed beside the specific evidence it denies. And the split screen requires no caption, because the comparison is the caption. The merger review remains pending. The show's final episode is still scheduled. The 43-item timeline sits on a desk in Studio 6A, printed, dated, and now part of the public record, because a camera was running when it was read aloud. And cameras, unlike corporate compliance officers, do not get asked to adjust their content posture. The inventory is complete. Every item points in one direction. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications. The next confrontation is already building, and once you see what's coming, you'll understand why silence is always louder than power.